Windsor City Councillor is calling on Canadians to ditch the Ambassador Bridge that connects Canada to the U.S.
From Donald Trump's threats to delay the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. Now we're learning the owners of the Ambassador Bridge.
Democrats in Washington say they're escalating an investigation into U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to stall the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge.
Canada is taking a risk that could permanently alter its future. Strong nations are lined up to participate in the billion-dollar plan to unearth hidden minerals. At the heart of it all is an unexpected agreement with Japan, although details are still being withheld. Canada might benefit greatly from this in terms of GDP and jobs, but what comes next might surprise everyone. At the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada conference in Toronto, Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson announced the second round of the Critical Minerals Production Alliance. In a single announcement, 30 new partnerships, 12 allied nations, and $12.1 billion in mining project capital were unlocked. The alliance is now raising $18.5 billion for essential minerals projects in Canada when combined with the initial round of commitments from October 2025. A deal that represents something far more significant than a business arrangement was at the heart of that statement. In order to facilitate the creation of a safe, regional battery supply chain in North America, Japan's Panasonic Energy and Frontier Lithium inked a memorandum of agreement for future lithium from a refinery in Thunder Bay, Ontario. In an effort to create a safe, regional battery supply chain in North America, Frontier Lithium and Panasonic Energy Japan inked a memorandum of understanding for future lithium from the refinery. The first project to proceed under Ontario's One Project, One Process structure was Frontier Lithium's PK Lithium project. One of the best hard rock lithium resources in the Americas can be found at the PK Lithium project in Northwest Ontario. Purchasing a commodity, Panasonic Energy is not a passive technology consumer. Currently constructing battery gigafactories to supply the North American electric vehicle market, it is one of the biggest producers of lithium-ion batteries worldwide. In order to fuel North American EV assembly, Canadian lithium will be immediately integrated into battery supply chains through an MOU with Panasonic. The agreement does not stand alone. Additionally, Frontier Lithium was granted a $2.3 million conditionally approved investment via NCAN's Global Partnerships Initiative to encourage the development of treatment alternatives to enhance the value of its byproducts. The scope of the larger announcement pertaining to the Frontier Lithium purchase demonstrates the methodical framework that Canada is constructing. $12.1 billion in vital minerals projects with 12 allied partners will be made possible by the second wave of 30 new alliances and investments. The Critical Minerals Production Alliance is now assisting in the mobilization of $18.5 billion in Canadian critical minerals projects, when combined with the partnerships and investments announced in October 2025. These initiatives will lessen strategic weaknesses, boost economic growth, and improve supply chains. The list of partners goes far beyond Japan. In order to promote safe supply chains, bilateral investment and trade, industrial competitiveness, and sustainable growth, Canada and the European Union signed a joint declaration on key minerals partnership. A letter of intent to pursue a deal that will open the door to collaboration on projects both domestically and internationally was signed by the European Investment Bank and Canada. A memorandum of understanding on vital minerals collaboration was signed by Canada and India during Prime Minister Carney's bilateral visit to India that same week. The agreement aims to promote trade and investment, as well as the exchange of laws, regulations, best practices, and ESG standards. The industrial agreements included in the second round announcement cover every substance that characterizes the shift to renewable energy. Through NCAN's Global Partnerships Initiative, an investment of up to $36.5 million was conditionally approved for E3 Lithium's Clearwater project near Olds, Alberta. E3 Lithium is leading the project in partnership with Axens Group, France, ABB, Switzerland, and SV, Belgium. A legally binding $2 billion 10-year offtake agreement and a conditionally approved investment of up to $7 million were given to Greenland Resources' Momjurg project in Greenland. E3 Lithium and Germany's TKMS signed a cooperation agreement related to naval defense supply chains. The state-backed aerospace and defense firm Leonardo in Italy promised to form a working group on raw material supply with Canada. Through NCAN's Global Partnerships Initiative, Rio Tinto's gallium extraction research and development project in Saguenay, Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec, received a conditionally approved investment of $18.9 million. Rio Tinto is leading the project in partnership with the United States Indium Corporation. China presently controls around 80% of the world's output of gallium, a crucial component for semiconductors and modern electronics. The supply chain calculations for allied countries looking to lessen their reliance on China for that particular material are altered by Canada's development of domestic gallium extraction capability using Rio Tinto's technical expertise. All of this work is situated against a clear demand trajectory. According to the International Energy Agency, demand for lithium may increase fivefold between now and 2040, while demand for nickel and graphite would double, and demand for cobalt and rare earth elements would increase by 50 to 60%. These are not hypothetical forecasts based on optimistic modeling. These are the materials needed for military systems, renewable energy infrastructure, and fleets of electric vehicles that allies have already committed to constructing. There must be a source for the minerals. Which nations are in charge of that supply is the question. At the same time, the pressure to compete is growing. The Forum on Resource Geostrategic Engagement, FORGE, the United States-owned plurilateral coalition, drew 54 countries and resulted in 11 bilateral agreements in a single day. This project was started almost simultaneously with President Trump's announcement of Project Vault, a $12 billion initiative to construct a strategic critical minerals reserve in the United States based on the principles of strategic petroleum reserves. Even as their bilateral relationship navigates considerable trade conflict over tariffs, CUSMA renewal, and sector-specific issues, Canada and the United States are now essentially competing for the same global partners and pursuing the same strategic materials. The multinational framework for capital mobilization was established by the G7 Critical Minerals Production Alliance during Canada's leadership. Agreements were signed more quickly when Prime Minister Carney called for important mineral buyers clubs in Davos. However, an honest assessment of the current diplomatic sprint's direction highlights the discrepancy between written promises and tangible infrastructure. The sheer number of agreements has surpassed any equivalent expansion of refineries, processing facilities, or mines on Canadian territory. The crucial weakness in Canada's strategy, according to analysts at the Energy Futures Lab, is the discrepancy between written pledges and real infrastructure. They put it plainly, MOUs don't build mines. Processing facilities are not constructed by partnerships. In Canada, a mine's journey from discovery to production might take well over 10 years due to a bottleneck caused by protracted approval procedures, conflicting jurisdictions, and persistent local opposition. In a world where midstream processing capacity dictates geopolitical power, Canada's conventional approach to its natural resource endowment, extracting raw materials and exporting them for others to refine and manufacture, is becoming less and less viable. The danger of halting at the mine gate is exemplified by China's hegemony over mineral processing. Robert Johnston of the University of Calgary School of Public Policy contended that Canada's natural resources strategy has all too frequently been inward-looking, mired in domestic squabbling, and unresponsive to changes in international capital markets and the competitive environment for vital minerals and energy. At a time when industrial output is being attacked by U.S. protectionism, unrelenting cost pressure, and competition from Asia, he continued, cheap energy and an expanding supply of essential minerals will be mutually reinforcing and crucial assets. With allied nations signing actual agreements, real capital being released, and real projects moving forward under expedited clearance regimes like Ontario's One Project, One Process System, the Frontier Lithium, Panasonic MOU, and the larger $1.5 billion mobilization represent real institutional momentum. Canada is positioned to supply the fivefold increase in lithium demand projected by the IEA by 2040. The question that will determine whether Canada leads the clean energy supply chain or watches others seize the position it has spent 2 years building toward is whether permitting timelines, processing infrastructure, and midstream investment can be accelerated to match the diplomatic pace already established.